herself with a new body and a set of clothes laid out beside the bed. She changed her clothes and went downstairs, where she met the man who had saved her, Dr. Dyson. The doctor took her outside, and the sight before her left her speechless. It was a city built of stacked steel, and the streets were filled with mechanically modified people. The doctor showed her around the streets, introducing her to the way of life in this world. It was then that the girl realized she didn't even have a name. The doctor thought for a moment and named her Alita.
Alita.
It was the name of his deceased daughter. Alita didn't refuse. She liked the name. That night, Alita heard a noise outside. She went to the window to look and saw the doctor leaving with a briefcase. The doctor didn't return until almost dawn, but his hands were covered in blood. Alita felt uneasy. The next day, she heard news from a patient.
You were lucky. Another girl was murdered last night, right near there.
Last night, a girl had been brutally murdered. Alita couldn't help but think of the blood-stained hand. Could it have been the doctor? The female secretary on her first secret agent mission was sent to a small bar to meet with an informant. B arrived at the designated table, spoke the pre-approved code phrase, but realized she had the wrong person. Not only did she fail to make contact, but she was also mistaken for a mistress interfering in a marriage. Her first mission ended in failure. Her lookout partner, Tavera, began to get nervous. Just then, a nervous-looking man approached. When he accurately spoke the code phrase, B's heart sank. Not with relief, but with suspicion. Because in the intelligence system, knowing the code phrase doesn't necessarily mean trustworthiness. Fortunately, the subsequent details confirmed his identity. She whispered instruction. Tear off the second-to-last page of the book, soak it in water to read the mission instructions, and then destroy it immediately. The contact was finally made. But the real danger wasn't at the table. Tavera, the lookout, was briefly held up by a drunkard. When he finally broke free, he saw a symbol on the window, a Pegasus. To ordinary people, it was just graffiti. But to them, it meant the enemy was not only already present, but had also been observing them for some time. In other words, B's entire meeting had likely already been recorded. Would they be able to successfully retreat? The woman jumped from the balcony, disappearing into the night. She knew staying in that building would only be more dangerous. Seconds earlier, the man was preparing to take a shower, unaware he was being watched. A slight movement in the wardrobe alerted him. The woman hiding inside understood that if she was discovered, she would have to act first. The sound of water filled the bathroom. The man bent down to wipe himself dry. The woman seized the opportunity, quickly slipped past him from behind, and rushed towards the balcony. The old man waiting below assessed the situation. Without giving directions, he simply pointed to the trash can downstairs. Survival was paramount. Back at the bar, the woman exchanged information with her contact. Having been discovered, she prepared to take a desperate gamble. Tavila set the bar on fire, causing chaos. Flames spread, the situation spiraled out of control. The woman escaped in the confusion. After escaping, she learned that her contact was an enemy. She had almost lost her life. The young man was being watched by Andre. The reason was simple. He went to the bar carrying books, which seemed illogical. He explained that he wanted to appear intellectual. Andre checked his documents and books. Finding nothing unusual, he could only let him go for the time being. But suspicion remained. Back at their residence, the woman and Tavila were reprimanded. A discreet meeting had turned into an arson incident. The mission was completely out of control. Could they continue?
The man simply wanted to bend down to pick something up from the ground, but he saw a scene he couldn't comprehend.
Oh my God, what is happening?
And the real horror had only just begun. Late at night, a ball of gray fluff drifted through the gap under the door into the girl Laura's room. It rolled across the floor, finally stopping under the bed, and reformed into a bizarre rabbit. A slight rustling sound woke Laura. She wasn't suddenly afraid, but immediately certain that there was something under the bed. Her parents checked the room, but found nothing. In their eyes, it was just a child's nonsense. But they didn't realize that what truly terrified Laura wasn't the darkness, but that she was right, but no one believed her. That night, the rabbit appeared again. Laura hid in the corner, holding her breath, not daring to make a sound. Just then, clear and heavy footsteps came from downstairs. A strange man walked into the apartment from the back alley. Laura didn't know who he was, but instinctively realized that he was connected to the rabbit. She secretly followed him. In the alley, she saw a scene that no child should ever see. At that moment, she understood that this man was not the first time he had faced a monster. That night, Laura returned to her room, thinking she was finally safe, but she didn't notice that the man was quietly watching her. If you live in this world and haven't awakened your superpowers before the age of 18, you won't live long, because 1,000 years from now, some can fly, some can control fire, others can manipulate emotions with just a thought. Here, superpowers aren't for showing off, they're for working. But Jenny is an exception. She's 28 years old and her abilities are still completely blank. So every job interview ends before it even begins. Even her boyfriend has grown tired of waiting. One day she went to the restroom. When she came back, he had already flown away from the 20th floor. For him, leaving her was easier than taking the stairs, but Jenny still chose to believe. Maybe I'm just a late bloomer. On her way home, she picked up a stray cat. She just wanted to prove that she was still needed. But what she didn't know was, this cat was no ordinary cat. As soon as she entered the apartment, she saw her roommate Jack wearing a tight suit pretending to be a superhero.
Wait, let me get my phone. No!
Jack used his superpower and everything started to reverse. Time rewound by 1 minute. Jack desperately tried to take off his cape, but it was too late. When he heard the door open, he realized something terrible. Superpowers can reset, but embarrassment cannot be erased. And Jenny, completely unaware in that 1 minute, the world had already been rewritten once. The girl witnessed it with her own eyes. The dust under the bed was eating people. Late at night, a ball of gray fluff floated into the girl's room. It rolled slowly across the floor, finally stopping under the bed. The girl was awakened by the vibration of the floor.
There's something under my bed. Don't touch the floor.
But when her parents looked, there was only dust. They turned off the light and left, leaving her alone with her fear. They didn't know that the girl wasn't afraid of the dark, but of, this time, she was right. It wasn't an illusion, but a rhythmic undulation, like breathing. The girl clung tightly to the edge of the bed, afraid to let her feet touch the floor. The next second, the bedroom door was pushed open, and her parents returned. Then, she heard a scream, not a cry for help. The next morning, the room was eerily quiet. The girl didn't dare get out of bed and could only use her wheeled toy to slowly move towards her parents' bedroom. When she pushed the door open, the furniture was torn to shreds and the walls were covered with drag marks. Her parents were gone, but there wasn't a single drop of blood. Whose scream had she heard?
The man woke up to find himself guarded by a pride of lions. But instead of eating him, the lions called his friend on their cell phone. Jason, seeing it was the man calling, was instantly shocked. He and the officers immediately went to the grassland and, using GPS, located the man hanging from a tree. Seeing this, Jason, already feeling guilty, wanted to rescue him, but he didn't notice the lions slowly approaching. Although frightened, the group managed to rescue the man. Strangely, when they checked him, they found he had no bite marks. Meanwhile, on the other side of the city, a boy who had been playing with his pet, the dog was playing, but the father stopped him, citing safety concerns, and had a waiter take the dog away. This angered the dog, who then stole the boy's favorite toy, luring the man to retrieve it. Unaware that he had fallen into the dog's trap, the man followed the increasingly secluded road to an abandoned warehouse. Thinking he could finally get his toy back, he was instead met with a scene of carnage. Countless vicious dogs emerged from the shadows and surrounded him. He realized he had become the prey. Were these unusual animals merely a coincidence? A lion cornered two men on the edge of a cliff, but didn't immediately enjoy their meal. As the pride slowly approached, the man sensed something was wrong. Fortunately, the cliff wasn't deep. The two men fell, but were unharmed. Rewind 3 days. Leo and Jack, guides for an African safari tribe. That day, as usual, they were delivering supplies to the tribe, but the camp was unusually quiet. The table was still set, with freshly prepared food. The two quickly discovered a video camera. It only contained chaotic and hurried footage. The footage abruptly ended, as if forcibly cut off. Nearby, lion droppings were also found, but strangely, there were only one lion's footprints. A tribe with so many people gathered couldn't have been emptied by a single lion. Realizing something was wrong, the two immediately drove around searching. A bus was quickly spotted, Jack immediately rushed onto the bus, but Leo noticed the bushes were rustling. The next second, a woman rushed out crying for help. In that split second of his distraction, a male lion had already silently climbed onto the bus. Jack, could he survive? The maid retrieved a pull from the toilet. The mansion's mistress, Nina, immediately lost control. She searched the kitchen. She accused Millie of losing her speech notes. Rewind to the first day. When Millie started work, Nina was overly enthusiastic. She gave her expensive clothes. She let her use her phone freely. She even proactively shared her history of depression. She said she had been receiving treatment, but Millie had never actually seen her take her medication until that pill in the toilet. Later, Millie found the pill box with the label torn off in the cupboard. Prescription psychiatric medication. She realized something seemed to be hiding in this house. But the next day, she was called to the attic. The door was locked from the outside. The male head of the household demanded that she use shards of glass to make 21 cuts. Otherwise, the girl would starve to death in the room. Then she discovered a dagger. To escape, she endured excruciating pain and, as Andrew demanded, created wounds. When Andrew came to examine the wounds, she used all her strength to frantically kick the perverted man to the ground. She then quickly fled the house and locked the door. Was all of this a coincidence, or was she trying to stop something?
A nanny earning $1 million a year, yet she was assigned to live in the attic. The windows were welded shut. The door was locked from the outside. Even more bizarrely, the mistress of the house had extremely unstable emotions, switching between 23 different personalities in a single day. And the seemingly perfect husband in his study had the contact information of 137 strange women. What secrets was this mansion hiding? Let's rewind time. A high-achieving graduate from Harvard voluntarily applied for a nanny position. The mistress of the house hired her almost without hesitation, but she didn't know that this elite nanny was actually a homeless vagrant. Every day she went to public restrooms to use the hand dryers to dry her hair. At night, she could only sleep in a dilapidated car. She was on parole. Her resume and academic credentials were full of inconsistencies. Yet, the mistress chose to believe her. The next morning, Millie was still dreaming in bed. A scream suddenly rang out. Nina, like a madwoman, searched the entire kitchen, insisting that Millie had thrown away her handwritten speech. Millie was speechless. She could only stand there. At that moment, the husband, Andrew, arrived. He skillfully calmed his wife. A few minutes later, Nina calmed down. And all of this made Millie finally realize that this seemingly warm home was far from as safe as it appeared. A woman is being chased on the streets of a foreign country. Meanwhile, her boyfriend mysteriously disappeared 3 days ago. Let's go back 3 days. Her name is Alice. She was traveling with her boyfriend, Tom. On a high-speed train, she simply fell asleep. When she woke up, her boyfriend was gone. She searched every carriage, even checking every single restroom, but found no trace of him. The police's explanation was simple. When an adult goes missing, they usually leave voluntarily. But Alice knew something was wrong, because before Tom disappeared, he had taken a picture, and then he never came back. She followed the clues in the picture and found a cut wire fence and bloodstains by the river. All of this told her that Tom hadn't left on his own, but had been taken away. Then, that night, there was a sudden knock on her door. She looked through the peephole. The person was wearing a helmet, deliberately concealing their face, but claimed to be delivering a package. But she had only just arrived here. It was impossible for her to have a package. She immediately realized something was wrong. She tried to barricade the door, but the knocking suddenly became rapid and violent. Was this man looking for her, or was he trying to confirm whether she had discovered Tom's whereabouts?
The boy hadn't touched his porridge, but his parents had eaten most of theirs. Then the father froze. Tonight's porridge tasted off. It reminded him of rat poison.
What did you do? Tell me, what did you do?
You hurt my sister.
Peter's parents never told him he had a sister locked inside the walls. The father shouted at the mother to call the police, but it was too late. He coughed up black blood. He was already dead. The mother, furious, grabbed a knife. She lunged at Peter, caught his leg, ready to strike. Suddenly, she too spat black blood and collapsed. Peter kicked her down the stairs. Shaken, he remembered his sister, the one trapped behind the walls. He grabbed the keys, but the mother said, "Don't let her out." Peter went to his parents' room. He pushed the clock aside. Behind it, a hidden wooden door. He unlocked. Laughter echoed from the dark. Terrified, Peter ran back to his Peter's room. Then came a knock at the door. His sister dragged their parents' bodies away. Slowly, she opened the front door. Someone stepped inside. Peter hid under his bed and finally understood his mother's warning. His sister's the monster. That's why they were locked away. Peter realized the truth too late. She had killed everyone. Hair loose, face twisted, she crawled toward him. She whispered her pain, then shoved Peter inside the wall. A wealthy businessman died suddenly of a heart attack. The distribution of his estate shocked everyone. His wife received a mansion and a private jet. His unassuming son received $500 million. The rest was donated to charity, but his beloved daughter, Anna, received nothing. Just as she was puzzled, her lawyer called her over. He handed her an envelope. Inside was a key and a USB drive. Anna rushed home and inserted the USB drive. A pre-recorded video of her father appeared. In her father's basement lay a secret hidden for 30 years. He told her where to find it and asked her to keep it secret. That night, Anna did as he instructed. She found the basement, opened the door, and walked inside. The dim, damp air made her uneasy, but she kept going. Finally, she froze. An old man was locked in the room. She was terrified. She wanted to reach out and see if he was still alive, but fear made her turn and run. Home, she was about to pick up the phone to leave. She suddenly remembered her father's words, so she hung up. Anna needed answers. Next day, she returned to the basement wearing a mask. But the old man recognized her instantly. He even mentioned the mark on her leg. Anna asked him who he was. He calmly introduced himself as her father's best friend. 30 years ago, one night, Nick and her father got drunk and hit a pedestrian with their car and was still alive. Nick wanted to call the police. Father refused. If they did, they would jail. So they buried the old man in the mountain. But to silence Nick, father knocked him on. When Nick awoke, found himself locked in this basement. He had been trapped 30 years.